What's happening, people? It's your girl Minna. Welcome back to the channel. You already know what it is. Big up to everyone locked in on this wonderfully quiet Friday afternoon, or it might be morning, whatever the time is, wherever you're watching. Big up to everyone. You know, match day is back. About time. Football is returned. I mean, I'm saying about time, but I know I'm just going to complain after Manchester United play tomorrow. But big up to everyone. Be sure to hit the like button and be sure to subscribe if you are new here. Listen. Erik ten Hag has done his pre-game press conference and has given us some insight into the mood and the atmosphere at Manchester United right now. I've got an engineer in my house fixing stuff. So if you lot hear a lot of boom, bam noise, I hope you lot understand where it's coming from. But Erik ten Hag has given us some insight into the mood around Carrington regarding his job. He's also given us some insight into injuries, players that are out, players that are expected to return, and also given us some insight into how long players like Mainoo, Harry Maguire, etc. could be out for. Now, it's actually quite ridiculous because he said one thing about Tyrell Malacia, and it looks like probably Tyrell Malacia will be back before Luke Shaw. Can you believe that? Tyrell Malacia basically died and came back to life, and he's still back before Luke Shaw. I actually think, and we're going to talk about it, but I actually think it is time for Manchester United to really just part ways with Luke Shaw, because you're not getting nothing from him, if we're being honest. Now, my biggest concern out of probably all the injuries that currently Manchester United are experiencing is the Mainoo one. And the reason why it's a concern for me is because I genuinely feel like this was on the horizon. I think a lot of you might feel that same testament. It was on the horizon. And I look at Erik ten Hag's hypocrisy, if you want to call it that, when it comes to substituting players like Marcus Rashford, etc., during a game, substituting him and saying it's down to rotation, but in that same breath, you leave players like Mainoo out to dry. We are going to talk about that, and of course, we're going to talk about tomorrow's big game, if you want to call it a big game, tomorrow's 3 p.m. matchup against Brentford. And I find myself saying this a lot, guys. I find myself saying every single match week, it's a must win. When does this end? When does it end of me saying something is a must win? Like, seriously, come on, Brentford, we're saying it's a must win. Of course, 3 points is necessary at home at Old Trafford. I think Manchester United haven't scored in 3 home games. Is it 3 games in the Premier League that they have not actually scored in? Yes, they may have kept clean sheets, but they've been awful games. Sorry. So we're going to talk about that as well, and kind of predict what the starting 11 is going to be, what the result could be, and ultimately what Erik ten Hag might do for that game. Trying to predict what Erik ten Hag is going to do is a bit of a madness. And now is the time, after 11 years. Big up to Show. Listen, is 11 years, you could say, has been 11 years too long, but equally so, I'll say the last couple years, Luke Shaw's time at Manchester United has definitely been up and down. It's definitely been an up and down kind of situation for that. But I think now is very evident. And it's actually crazy because I think his contract is until we've still got 2 years left on his contract. So really and truly, he actually might not go anywhere unless Manchester United choose to sell him. He might do the thing that a lot of players have historically done and just choose to run his contract down. He might not get another big contract. He still might find himself getting into the England squad. So we just have to wait and see. But big up to everyone in the chat. Be sure to hit the like button and be sure to subscribe. Erik ten Hag has just, finished his press conference about an hour or so ago. So we're going to go through some of the quotes from that because, like I said, there's been some standouts from that press conference, in particular, firing shots essentially at the media. Of course, there's all this talk about his job and his future at the club, and he's kind of shut it down essentially with what he has to say. And for me, this is a man that knows he's staying in the job for the foreseeable future. I said it yesterday on stream as well. I said Erik ten Hag will probably find himself to be the Manchester United manager throughout the rest of the season, unless it gets really, really bad. And when I say really, really bad, I'm talking about relegation. And United ain't really that far off it right now. But the only way that I see him kind of getting sacked or losing his job or parting ways would be that it gets to a situation that it's unsaved. It can't be saved. Whether it's Europa League, I actually don't think Europa League will be that big of a punishment. I think if Man United were to crash out in the Europa League early stages, I don't think the punishment would be that big, because last season we saw him crash out in the group stages of the Champions League, and there was no punishment for that. So I don't think there'll be that big of a punishment. I think in the Premier League, if Manchester United continue to find themselves in and around this 14th, 15th place, then that will be the problem. But the biggest thing for me, truly, is that Manchester United management or leadership now find themselves in a position where the pool of managers is dehydrated. That's the only way I can describe it. The pool of managers right now is dehydrated, and there's not really many managers to pick from. If you're thinking of everyone that's available immediately, I mean, why would a manager like Amarom, etc., want to jump ship from another role where they are actually competing and maybe playing in more competitive football? Why would they want to jump ship and come straight to Manchester United? Big up to Riri in the chat, says, bless up everyone in the community. Jumma Mubarak, Minna, Jumma Mubarak, sis, I hope you're doing well. Ipswich play Everton, Leicester play Southampton, so our rivals will take points off each other this weekend, which helps us. You know how the mighty have fallen. How the mighty have fallen, because we are saying our rivals, and in that same breath we are saying Ipswich, Everton, Leicester, Southampton. How the mighty have fallen. But it's true, I'm seeing people talking about what's happening on the top end of the table, but we deadass needs to focus on the people that are in and around 8th to 15th. That's the ones that we need to focus on. And it's absurd. It's really, really absurd that we can find ourselves in that kind of situation. Big up to Savage, says, big up Queen Minna, big up the chat. Ali says, Minna, I don't think we win tomorrow. We'll get onto that. But let's actually get onto Erik ten Hag's pre-match comments leading up to this game. And of course, the media like to shit stir. And if there's anything the media like to do, the media like to shit stir. And one of the questions that they did ask him before they got onto the topic of discussion about injuries, etc., they asked him about the need to seek reassurance from Manchester United's leadership and Manchester United's hierarchy. This is a man, by the way. Erik ten Hag is a man. He's not insecure, guys. He doesn't need reassurance. When you're in a relationship and you always have, so some people always need reassurance from their partner. Oh, do you still love me? Do you still like me? Oh, do you still want to be with me? He don't need that. He don't need that. And I've always said, Erik ten Hag speaks in press conferences like a guy who's very secure in his job. Additionally, after the FA Cup final, when he won it, and he said on TV, he literally said, if they want to get rid of me, that's fine. I will just go win trophies elsewhere. This is not a guy, I think, who, no matter what I have to think about his tactics and his kind of philosophy, this is a guy that's not insecure. He's very secure in what it is that he kind of brings, which I think is low-key a little bit delusional. But anyways, that's just my opinion. He went on to say, no, the noise is only coming from you, the media, from some of you, not all of you, creating stories and fairy tales, bringing up lies, because I know we're on one page within the club. I said this before the break, but several journalists did not believe me. Within the club, it's quiet. So he's kind of just alluded to this idea that all the noise is coming from outside of the club when it comes to the certainty of his job or him keeping his job. All that noise is coming from outside, and within the club, it's quiet. And I said it in a video that I did last week. I said that meeting that the media were hyping up, guys. That's what the media do. They hype up situations like that because it gets them clicks. I was reading an article recently that some journalist was saying that some chief editor was saying that Manchester United, any news on Manchester United, any article on Manchester United will always generate the most clicks online. Then you have all these accounts on Twitter that will kind of relay the information, kind of sourcing where it came from or the journalist that it came from. So then people are going to see 2-3 lines from an article posted by a Twitter page, and then they're just going to run with it and everyone's going to be talking about it. Media have confirmed that themselves. When it's Manchester United, people listen. People will read, people will watch, people will listen to the podcast, etc. So I kind of get what Erik ten Hag is saying, but also I don't agree with this kind of idea that it's fairy tales that are being created. Like, surely the news that was coming out from Manchester United about Erik ten Hag's job, there must have been some truth to it. I mean, we saw Sir Jim Ratcliffe on BBC basically refuse to publicly back the manager. And I said this time and time again, Sir Jim Ratcliffe, given the opportunity, has never, ever, ever publicly backed Eric Ten Hag. He's never done it. There's been 3 different opportunities that he's had to do it, and he's never, ever done it. He always does his PR trained kind of response to kind of slide around the question. But if you are an owner of a company and somebody asks you a question essentially about the CEO or the person that's in charge, by saying nothing, essentially you're saying something. Do you guys know what I mean? So yeah, Eric Ten Hag can say that he feels as secure as possible and he doesn't need reassurance from the hierarchy. But really and truly, if your boss is not publicly backing you, then clearly there is something, there's some animosity, there's some disagreement between you guys. There's clearly some misunderstanding or some different ideas of what success might look like. Eric Ten Hag was also asked about what he thinks, whether he thinks, that he can still succeed at Manchester United. And he went on to say, we have to climb a mountain, but that's top football. And sometimes you have to face challenges. And I'm sure we will make it a success, just like we did in the last 2 seasons. I can't believe he said that. He went on to say, I see the good things, good patterns, and the good stats that confirms we're in a good direction. But ranking doesn't lie, and where we are right now is not good enough. Now, this is another thing that I don't really like personally, is this idea of holding on to what you think was a good season last year or the year before. This is a pre-game press conference for a Premier League game. Don't sit here and say for the last 2 seasons in the league, you've been good, because that's not true. Your first season, Manchester United finished in the top 4. But essentially, between December and February, Manchester United had a phenomenal run under Eric Ten Hag, possibly the best run that they've had under Eric Ten Hag. But since then, it's all been downhill. Since March, since that 7-0 thrashing, it was downhill for Manchester United and Eric Ten Hag. So don't sit in a press conference and say, for the last 2 seasons, we've been good. We will make it a success just like we did in the last 2 seasons. Because last season in the Premier League, it was not a success. The Manchester United did not, I think they had a run of 3 games, a win of 3 games in a row in November last year. After that, I think it was practically non-existent. Manchester United beat newly promoted teams who went on to get relegated 1-0. 1-0 every time they came up against them. I'm talking about Luton and Burnley. So don't say that last season was a success, and in order to be successful this season, you've done it last year, so you can do it this year. That's a lie. The only success you're going off of is the FA Cup final, winning the FA Cup. That is the only source of success that the manager can truly say, we had a successful season last year. But that's why I think it's important to differentiate. Was it a successful season, or was it a successful cup campaign? Because if I was to say it was a successful cup campaign, 100%, I believe that it was a successful cup campaign, because you won the trophy in the end. But to say it's a successful season, no, because when you say a successful season, you take into consideration everything. But the bulk of the season is the Premier League. That is literally that is the bulk of what you're basing your success off. So if you are saying Manchester United have been successful the last 2 seasons and the bulk is based off the Premier League, Eric Ten Hag, you are wrong in that instance. You are truly wrong in that instance. Eric Ten Hag then went on to talk about goals, and he said, I think the players do well. We won last season. Maybe some of you forget. When we face problems, sometimes we have to line up teams who are not in the right balance because players aren't available. But I think in general, the players do perform well. Now, firstly, that's not answering the question when it comes to goals. But secondly, Manchester United have had a balanced starting 11 predominantly throughout the season because there has not been a lot of injury problems. So this notion of not being able to field your best 11 or not always having your best starting lineup available is false, because Manchester United have not been struggling with injuries. Even right now, Manchester United are not really struggling with injuries. Eric Ten Hag still has a crop of players to select from when it comes to defenders, when it comes to midfield, when it comes to the front line. He still has a clear crop of players to pick from. Yes, you're missing Harry Maguire. Yes, you're missing Mainoo. Yes, you're missing Mason Mount. Yes, you're missing Tyrell Malacia. You're missing Luke Shaw. But you still have a crop of players that are still available to you. So this idea that when similar to he's saying we won last season. What did we win last season? Honestly, guys, I'm really deep in what he said in this kind of answer regarding scoring goals. He said, I think the players do well. We won last season. Maybe you forgot. What did United win in the Premier League. How many games did United win? How many games in the Premier League did Man United win by scoring and not conceding much? A lot of the time when Man United won games in the Premier League last season, it wasn't by large margins. It was about scraping past. We scraped past, what was it, 4-3 against Wolves? We drew with Liverpool. I'm trying to think back, and I'm thinking of maybe a couple of games where Man United scored 2 or 3 and kept a clean sheet. But really and truly, if you're considering goals of what Manchester United scored, it's Eric Ten Hag's yet to break the 60 goal mark in the Premier League. And we are in now the 3rd season. We are on 5 goals in October. I don't think he's going to break the 60 goal mark this season either. So essentially, in 3 seasons, possibly, this is just an assumption, guys, but it's a possibility that in 3 seasons, Eric Ten Hag would not have broken the 60 goal mark in the Premier League, despite spending how much on frontline players? Rasmus Højlund, Anthony, as Joshua Zirkzee, bringing Weghorst is in as a backup, etc. For me, that's absurd. That's not even the craziest thing he's ever said. That's true. Katie says, it's clear Eric Ten Hag doesn't care if we finish the season in 17th as long as we win FA Cup or Carabao. That's success to him. It's true. I've realized that he's basing his success or a successful season based on what cup you can win. But I don't know, guys, do you guys agree with me? When I think of the season, I think of the Premier League campaign. Everything else for me is like side quests. The cup competitions, those are side quests. But when you think of what a successful season is, you think of the bulk of it being the Premier League, because that's where you play the bulk of your games. You play 38 games in the season in the Premier League. In the cup, you might play, FA Cup, you might play 5 games. Carabao Cup, I think, is like 5 or 6 games. You play, it's like 4 or 5 games, Carabao Cup. Obviously, Europa League now is different. You'll play about, I think it's about up to 16 games maybe to get to the final. But your bulk of the season comes in the Premier League. So to base a successful season purely off of you winning cups, to me, that's not justifiable. I can't justify that. I never wanted to see the club lose. I won't watch with Eric Ten Hag in charge, but I want the team to win. I hear it. I don't want United to lose, but equally so for me, it's just with Ten Hag. I'm just mind blown a lot. And we're going to get to the topic of injuries as well, because I think that is a factor. But I don't think the injury thing is a big factor. Like last year, I understand clinging on to this idea of, oh my God, United have so many injuries. Eric Ten Hag is literally struggling to have fit players available. But Man United have not had that issue leading up to now. So to now use the excuse of having to find the right balance in your starting 11 because players are unavailable, that's inexcusable in my opinion. But he went on to talk about if we have to climb a mountain, and he said we have to climb a mountain, but that's top football. Sometimes you have to face challenges, but I'm sure we will make it a success, just like we did in the last 2 seasons. Again, referencing the last 2 seasons, guys, I could go on a rant right now about how the last 2 seasons are not a success. But I've done it for like the last 15 minutes of this stream. So I don't really want to do it. But let's actually get on to the topic of injuries. And I think this is a big miss. But I do genuinely feel like this was something that was foreseeable. I think everyone knew that this was coming if Eric Ten Hag and Manchester United continuously chose to run Kobbie Mainoo into the ground like this. Like I was saying a couple of weeks ago that he should be rested. I was happy for that idea to rest him, because this is where I think double standards kind of come into play. And again, back to hypocrisy, because he returned back from the Euros, similar to Bruno Fernandes, and was slotted straight back in to the starting 11 in the Community Shield immediately. No preseason, no kind of rest. A lot of other players, obviously, they did have rest because they had the 2-week break after the Euros and they reported back to training after preseason. But essentially, they had a break and missed the entirety of preseason. And the first thing you wanted Kobbie Mainoo and Bruno, etc., to do was come back into the team and play in Community Shield. Then straight on from there, you went on to say, you know what, you're fit to start against Fulham, despite not having a preseason. And for me, that is mismanagement. That is mismanagement. And the reason why I also say it's borderline hypocrisy is because players like Manuel Ugarte, who Manchester United brought, the same excuse was used to leave him out of the starting 11 to say that he has not had a pre-season, he was sitting out at PSG, so he needs to be match ready. But when it's young players or players that you've already had, you're happy to just throw them kind of into the firing line. And a young player like Kobbie Mainoo, a young player like Alejandro Garnacho, another player like Amad Diallo, I think their minutes are actually mismanaged. We saw it last season with Garnacho, where he played 30-something games on the bounce in the starting 11, not one rest. And we saw how his output started to decline the more games he was playing. And that's why I say it's mismanagement of young players. Young players need to, I wouldn't say be bubble wrapped, but essentially they need to be watched. They need to be taken care of. And essentially, they also need to be, you need to make sure that if there is something on the horizon where it could be a potential injury, take the highway and don't take the risk and just let them sit out one game. There's multiple games, I think, over the last couple of weeks that Kobbie could have sat out, because let's be honest, Kobbie has not been at his best. He's not been at his best, and he's been looking like he's lacking and he's missing a step. So in those instances, it's best for you to sit him out. If it wasn't for his injury, I think he would have ended up actually going on international duty as well. But anyways, on the team news, Erik ten Hag says, injuries do not help us. I mean, this is the first injury crisis that you have in this season. But he said, injuries do not help. You need players available to perform. Kobbie and Harry Maguire are out for a couple of weeks, but Mazraoui is good news. He's returned on the training pitch and is available tomorrow. So if you lot remember on Nazir Mazraoui as well, it was rumored that he left camp with the Morocco national team, and reportedly was having a heart procedure or heart condition. Manchester United have kind of confirmed that's not the case, and he's available to play. But even so, that's another player that is going to be run into the ground. I actually think there's quite a few players that will be run into the ground, whether it's either going to be in two ways. They're going to start performing so bad that they're just going to stink up the pitch and Man United are going to struggle, or they're going to play so much that they're going to get injured. Nazir Mazraoui came into Manchester United and immediately played. If you guys remember, made his debut against Fulham. Phenomenal debut. Should have been man of the match for me. Has played pretty much every game since. Literally. Not one rest. And I understand is Man United find themselves in a position where they don't have any other fullbacks. It's only right now Mazraoui that's available and Dalot available. If they need a fullback outside of those two, I think they'll have to opt for Lindelof, Johnny Evans. When you've got a young player like Harry Amas just training in the academy, and I think Erik ten Hag ain't keen on that. I don't think Erik ten Hag is keen on Harry Amas, but equally, I won't know if Harry Amas is ready to play until he plays. I liked what I saw in preseason, and I would have liked to see him get a chance, but we won't know until he actually plays in the first team. It's a blessing for Euro that he's injured, so he doesn't have to play under this manager. You know what? I actually think Lenny Yoro will be De Ligt's partner. That's a hot take from me. I actually think Lenny Yoro will be Matthias De Ligt's partner. The more I watch Lisandro Martinez, and that's another guy who I think had a knock at international duty as well. But that's the more I watch Licha over the last couple months, it's either he's just playing really poorly under this manager and in this system, or he's really, really lost whatever it is that he had in his first season at Manchester United, whether it's through the injuries, whether it's through the inconsistencies of playing because of injuries, whatever it is. I really think Lisandro Martinez he's lost, I don't want to say he's lost a step, but he's kind of lost that bite that he had. I feel like he's very irrational right now. I feel like he's very erratic. I think the decisions that he makes hinders the team a lot. But equally so, at the beginning of the season when he was doing that, I was thinking that, okay, maybe he's overcompensating for, the lack of mobility that's in front of him in the midfield, in Casemiro, etc. But even now, I'm still seeing that. And I said this time and time again, I said the best thing that Raphael Varane did, and I saw an interview recently where Raphael Varane was saying that he's basically been playing with one knee for the last 6 years. The best thing Raphael Varane did was make Lisandro Martinez look amazing. And I'm not saying that Lisandro Martinez is not good enough to look amazing, but a good partner brings out the better side of you. So because Rafael Varane was such a great centre back and he was such a great partner to Martinez, he made Martinez look amazing. And you need the balance of basically erraticness and level-headedness. And I think De Ligt cannot play with Licha in that manner, because I think De Ligt needs another partner who's on the same wavelength, who's not erratic, who doesn't jump out and leave, the back line exposed and leave a whole gap in between the back line. I don't think De Ligt can play with someone like that. And of course, only time will tell. This is why I said it's kind of like a hot take. But I think when Lenny Yoro comes back, he might be that. Him and Licha will be fighting for that spot. Martinez looks like he's running with a backpack filled with stuff. Not sure what's gone wrong with him. Yeah, I don't know what's gone wrong with him either. You're right, Minna. He did lose something. It's called Varane, who was babysitting him. I think he just kind of proved my point. But listen, guys, be sure to hit the like button if you've just come through. It's a random stream at this time of the day, by the way, on a Friday afternoon. Normally I do it at like 4 p.m, but I thought, you know what, today, why don't I just do it a bit more earlier in the day? Allows people like in Asia and that to be able to watch, because I know some people sometimes say to me they can't catch a stream live because of time difference and whatnot. Other players that are potentially available, Manuel Ugarte. I mean, I already know the manager don't favor him. I already know that the manager is not. I think it's kind of obvious to everybody that the manager does not like Ugarte. Ugarte is not his cup of tea. Ugarte wasn't on his list of players that he wanted, and I don't think he ever wanted to even play him, especially with the fact that, the first couple games of his time at Manchester United, the manager was making excuses as to why he wasn't starting, saying that he needs to get up to pace with the Premier League, and then throws him into the Europa League game. But Manuel Ugarte picked up a knock on international duty. Came off in like the 80th minute, I think it was, for Uruguay, but he's okay. He's available. He should be able to play. He had a light session when returning to Carrington, and I think he should be available. Will he play though? That's the question, because a midfield of Ugarte and Casemiro for me is a very interesting one, because who's the one between Casemiro and Ugarte that will sit, and who's the one that will be more advanced? Because my brain is telling me it should be Casemiro that is more advanced, and it's Ugarte that should sit. But my brain is also telling me that neither of them will sit, and Erik ten Hag will allow them both to get forward, with the fullback tucking in a bit more centrally, inverting, if you want to say that. I think Ugarte starting tomorrow in particular will just be due to circumstances. I think if Kobbie was available, I don't think Erik ten Hag would start him. But I also don't eliminate the factor of possibly Eriksen playing, because we already know Erik ten Hag, when he finds something that works for him in one game, he will continuously persist with it. Now, Brentford, where are Brentford in the league? Let me actually see where Brentford are in the league. So Brentford are 11th. Damn, they're above us. Brentford are 11th, ahead of Manchester United by 2 points. So a win, Manchester United need to win, essentially. Manchester United will have to win in order to catch up with the teams ahead of them. A draw will not be good enough. A draw will kind of actually, I think, keep them in and around that area. The fact that if Man United lose tomorrow and Everton win, Manchester United and Everton are level on points. Just goal difference is what is saving Manchester United. That is a big worry. That is a huge worry. And it's actually crazy to me, guys. Don't you lot find it wild that we're saying that we're going into a game against Brentford and it's a must win? I don't think Ugarte will start. I'll be surprised to see him on the bench. If he does have a muscle injury, he could be out for some time. That's true. MUFC says, what's your minimum expectations of the next manager in terms of league position and cups? I couldn't tell you what my minimum expectation of the manager is, because I don't even know if Man United will have a new manager. Like, I've already eliminated the idea of Man United getting a new manager this season. I just don't think Ineos are going to pull the plug. I don't think Ineos are. I actually think what Ineos will do is stick around with Erik ten Hag, because A, maybe the manager they want is not available right now, but also B, I think they're going to stick around with him for the season just to show that they actually backed him. Because pulling the plug on a project 2 months into the season, when Ineos haven't been here for that long. It wouldn't look good on Ineos, right? And this is just I'm just trying to get some theory of understanding, if you want to call it. I'm just trying to make some understanding of everything. That is the only logical thing I can think of, because the only way that I see it is he should have been sacked, but he hasn't been. And they've chose to stick with him and stick by his side. So clearly they have something in mind, whatever the reasoning could possibly be, whether it is the fact that the manager they want is not available yet, whether it's because they think he deserves to have the entire season. What's your minimum expectation of Erik ten Hag in terms of league position and cups? Well, coming into the season, I said Man United had to finish in the top 4. I said Man United had to finish in the top 4. I said Erik ten Hag has spent 600 million coming into his 3rd season, top 4 minimum. That was my minimum. But now I'm looking at this season and I'm like, well, you know what? We are not finishing anywhere near the top 4. And I know that's crazy to say 7 games into the league. There's still 31 games to go. But Manchester United have 8 points. The gap, I think that's like double. Man United need double that to basically get in and around top 4 right now. I don't see City, the teams in the top 4, I don't really see them dropping a wild number of points. Yeah, because they themselves are in a title race, right? The gap between, I think, is Liverpool, City, Arsenal, right? That's the race right now. I don't see them dropping points. I look at the teams in and around that: Chelsea, Villa, Newcastle, Brighton, Spurs, Fulham, etc., etc. As the season continues, I think we'll kind of have a better landscape of what the top 8 look like, or 4th to 8th. We'll have a better understanding. But even then, do any of you guys actually see Man United improving over the next couple months and getting consistent results? Guys, we haven't had a run of consistent results since that first season under Erik ten Hag. There hasn't been any sort of consistency in the Premier League. There hasn't been, right now, Manchester United haven't scored in the Premier League, I think, for 3 games in a row. I think Erik ten Hag might set a record if Man United don't score this weekend. So I look at everything and I think what I was expecting coming into the season looks unrealistic now. I've kind of wiped that out. I've also wiped out the idea of, the cup stuff, because if Man United win an FA Cup, my expectation was Man United to win Europa League. They haven't really started that well. They haven't started that good. FA Cup, Carabao Cup, I don't care. The cups, I don't care about that, because those cups are what have masked over the issues over the last 18 months. The Carabao Cup and the FA Cup is the reason why we're still in this situation with the manager, because winning those kind of kept the manager in his position and gave him some it gave us some what's the word, leeway. It gave him some leeway for all the nonsense that he did in the season. So generally speaking, my minimum expectations coming into the season has kind of been wiped out, because now I'm in a position where I don't care about Carabao Cup. I don't care about FA Cup. Yeah, it's nice maybe to win it, but it won't change my thoughts on the manager, because like we've said time and time again here, consistency is shown in winning the league. It's the consistency in football is in the league. That's where you really see the changes. We've seen other teams, smaller teams, go on to win FA Cup, Carabao Cup, etc. That is not where you make your mark, kind of show the change that you've kind of invested in. That is where I think, Erik ten Hag might differ to other managers, in my opinion. And on the topic of Erik ten Hag, when we speak about his time at Ajax, of course, a lot of the time when people speak about his time at Ajax, they speak about that run in the Champions League, where they got to the semis and then fell short to Spurs. But people don't forget how they fumbled that game. I don't know why it's always like a null factor. The way that Manchester United fumbled that game, not Manchester United, the way that Ajax fumbled that game against Spurs, it's like people just erase it from their memory and they glorify what Erik ten Hag did with Ajax that season in the Champions League. You would have thought the way that people speak about it, oh, remember that run, that Ajax run in the Champions League. Because they were the underdogs, it was a good story, right? To get to the semi-finals. But they didn't win it. And people speak about that run and what Erik ten Hag did as if they won it. And let's be honest, they had a phenomenal team. They had a great team, right? Some of those players have gone on to have very good careers. You got Frankie de Jong, you've got De Ligt, you've got, Ziyech. Some of you might not think that, but Ziyech has gone on to have a good career with Chelsea. I think now, where is he? He's somewhere in Turkey or something. But people went on to have successful careers. But no one remembers the fact that they choked that game against Spurs. Maybe it's the manner in which they knocked out other teams in other stages. But let's be honest. Let's be real about that. Let's actually be real about that. But listen, guys, be sure to hit the like button and be sure to subscribe if you're new here. Let's see what else is new. Let me see. Let me reply to this. I just need to reply to a message quickly, guys. Just bear with me. This is why I normally put my stuff on D&D so that I don't get distracted by messages. And okay, cool. Make sure you hit the like button because I don't really see the like button moving. I don't see the like count really moving. We're gonna get to the Brentford game as well. All right, let's get back into it. Let's get back into it, guys. Who wants to see this guy at fullback? Who wants to see him? Well, he might not be at fullback position this weekend because Mazraoui is available and so is Diogo Dalot as well. But just the idea of potentially seeing him at fullback really, really scared me. It really scared me. This poor guy, yeah, poor Johnny Evans. Yeah, he's come back to his club and, he gets to leave eventually on a high. He gets to eventually leave on a high. But what the hell is that noise? I don't know what that noise is. I think it's the engineer that's fixing stuff outside. Brian says United winning 4-1. Brian thinks United's going to score 4 goals. I want to know where these goals are going to come from. That's what I want to know. I want to know, where are these goals going to come from? Because this guy's back in training. And I was actually speaking about it yesterday on stream, but I want to hear what you guys have to think as well. Between Xerxes and Højlund, how many goals is that? How many goals is United getting out of that, guys? Because I'm looking at that, I'm saying United again in the league 11. And maybe this is me just going off of emotion and going off of the mood and the ambiance, or the vibe right now over the last couple months in the league. But I'm looking ahead to the 31 games to come, and I'm like, I don't know. Between Højlund and Xerxes, I do not know if Man United will even crack 20 goals between them. That's me being very nice, considering that Højlund got 15 goals last season in all comps, and Xerxes I think had 12 goals in all comps. I think Erik ten Hag does not know how to utilize Joshua Xerxes. I really think that. I think this notion or this idea of bringing in Joshua Xerxes to play as this 9.5 and having your wingers hugging the touchline doesn't make sense. If you're going to bring in a guy that is going to vacate the 9 and he's going to kind of just drop deep, you need to have your wingers running across. I think, anyways, you need to have your wingers making runs in behind so that they can be found, making essentially good runs to be picked up. But you got Marcus Rashford hugging the touchline. Marcus Rashford is so far out, yeah, that he's basically on the bench. I was watching Manchester United versus Liverpool, guys, at Old Trafford, yeah. And when Man United were attacking this way, so when Man United in the first half, Rashford was on my side. And I was literally sitting at where the halfway line is, a couple of seats back. And I promise you guys, if he had moved any further from that position that Erik ten Hag has him kind of holding, he would have been sitting in the crowd with the rest of us. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. How do you play a Joshua Xerxes as a 9.5? Whatever the hell that is. Yeah. But how do you play him as a 9.5 and you have your wingers hugging the touchline? There's all that space you're creating with nobody utilizing it. And that same kind of argument for me goes to this notion of playing out from the back with Onana. Man United do not play out of the back with Onana. What they do is they go back to Onana and he goes long. But you have a fullback in Diogo Dalot, because Marcus Rashford's being instructed to hold that line, hold the touchline, and he's starting from a much deeper position. Diogo Dalot is making the runs that I think Marcus Rashford should make. And he's always aiming for Diogo Dalot. I don't know if you lot realise, but Onana is always aiming for Diogo Dalot. And another thing about that, since we're on the topic of that, why is it the biggest waste at the beginning of the game is Manchester United kicking off? It's a waste. Because I don't know if you lot realise, every time Manchester United kick off, they go back to Onana and he just goes long to the left-hand side. Every single time. And I remember I saw it in 2 games back to back and I was like, what the hell? What is the point of Manchester United kicking off in the game for no reason? It's pointless. It's actually pointless. But between Højlund and Xerxes, guys, how many goals do you think they're going to get throughout the rest of the season in the Premier League? Don't want to hear about cups. I want to hear about the Premier League. 31 games, 2 strikers that we possibly will not see play together. I don't think Erik ten Hag will ever play them 2 together, which I would like to see because I just want to see if it would work. Joshua Xerxes as a second striker without a 10, where he basically plays as the 10 and then 2 midfielders. I don't think Erik ten Hag will ever do that. But I look at them and think, Joshua Xerxes hasn't scored since he scored against Fulham. Højlund has scored, I think, for once. Has Højlund scored once in the league? I can't even remember. We scored 5 goals in the Premier League. Højlund was not one of them, I just realised. Xerxes signing is the Ineos one, and I said it from day one, it's a poor signing that didn't make sense. His only strength is holding up the ball, so you need goal-scoring wingers. I agree. It's not always that me and Sho agree, but I agree. And this is why I said, even when we were buying Xerxes, if you guys remember a couple months back, I said, bring me Ivan Toney, because that is someone that will at least put the ball in the back of the net. If United weren't going to sign a Harry Kane, really at that time, I feel like in the summer there wasn't really many prolific 9s. Victor Osimhen, Man United would never spend 140 million or however much it was that Napoli wanted. United weren't going to do that. You look at all the other 9s that left to go to Saudi, Benzema, Mitrovic, etc. I would have liked the idea of Ivan Toney because I really think as a 9 you'd get more in Ivan Toney than you would in a Xerxes. And I mentioned this yesterday on stream, but like I said, Seedorf even said in an interview, the biggest mistake that Xerxes probably has done in his career thus far is joining Manchester United. Because I don't think Man United is a club, essentially. I don't think Man United is a club that caters to a number 9 like Xerxes. When you think of the number 9s that have built a name at Manchester United, when you think about that, you think about Cole, York, Solskjaer, you think about Chicharito, you think about Wayne Rooney, Berbatov, Ruud van Nistelrooy, Robin van Persie. When you think about number 9s at Manchester United, that's what you think of. You don't think of a 9.5. So historically, Manchester United would never have signed a player like Joshua Xerxes. I don't know if you guys agree. Liam Delap outscored Xerxes and Højlund this season, and Liam Delap is actually pretty good. I actually like him. I actually like Liam Delap. 15 max between the 2 of them. Haunt says imaginary goals. Our wingers wants a 9 to create for them. Listen, I don't see an issue with that. But what I see an issue is, if you want a 9 that creates for you, why is the manager now instructing you to hold the touchline? Why are you so wide? Should you not make diagonal runs in behind so that the 9 or whoever's in the 10 or whatever can find you? It doesn't make sense. And this is why I say Ten Hag's system is flawed. I point this out all the time. Whenever I do 5 in 5 after a game, I always point out the flaws that I see in Erik ten Hag's system. And that is probably one of them. Marcus Rashford is in a deficient position already in the way that Erik ten Hag wants him to play, because he's starting a lot more deeper and a lot more wider. So he's covering a lot more ground to get forward with the ball at his feet. By the time he eventually gets to what would naturally be his starting position, maybe, he's going to lose the ball. And that happens all the time. And we'll probably see it again over the weekend. We most likely will see it happen over the weekend. Just quickly on this guy as well. I don't know what to expect from him. Damn, why is my thank you. He's fixing my television, but why you gotta shout like that, bro? But Garnacho, just quickly on him. What do we expect from him? Because someone said to me they have no expectation from Garnacho. And you know the saying is basically, if you don't expect nothing, you won't be disappointed when you get nothing. don't know what to expect from Garnacho, because I'll be real. Sometimes I look at him and I'm thinking, what the hell are you doing? I don't think the decision making has really clicked for him yet. And this is a guy who's in his 3rd season at Manchester United, albeit that his 1st season was him kind of breaking in. This is now his 3rd season. He, out of all, I would actually say, out of all the right-handed side players, Garnacho, Ahmad, Anthony, he's had the most chances to be in the kind of starting 11. He's been in that kind of privileged position. So for me, my expectations coming into the season for Garnacho was high. Yeah, he's young. Yeah, we could say he's a kid, but he's getting the opportunity of consistent first team football, which means you should develop the critical thinking, or the decision making should improve in game. And I sometimes don't think it has. I don't think it has. Sometimes I feel like when it's a chance at goal or a chance to find a man, he'll see his name in lights and see all the glory for himself. And that's where I criticize Ahmad in the opposite way, because sometimes I feel like Ahmad is not selfish enough. So it'll be very interesting to see who Erik ten Hag kind of goes with tomorrow. And it's also interesting as well because Man United men and women are both playing tomorrow. So at least for me, I don't know about you guys. But at least for me, I get to watch the women probably win against Brighton, and then maybe watch the men, I don't know, draw, lose, I don't know. But at least either way, I'm watching someone win tomorrow. And I hope this does not come back to bite me. I really hope. But quickly before we just wrap it up, predictions. Guys, I saw a crazy picture on, if you don't follow me on Twitter, guys, I'm going to have to show you lot this quickly, because this picture is actually killing me right now, guys. I saw a picture that looked like me. Guys, I saw a picture that looks like me, that even I was questioning, what the hell is that me? Someone sent it to me this morning and said to me, Minna, are you sure you were born the year that you were born? So this picture here, guys, this picture here is from 1975, Arsenal versus Tottenham. Yeah? And someone said, this looks like me over here. And I swear I had to do a double take. I looked at my phone like this. I was like, what the hell do I have a relative that is an Arsenal fan somewhere in the world who lived in the UK in 1975 that I'm not aware of? Because I swear to God, guys, I thought that was me. I actually thought that was me. I sent it to my family. I sent it to my friends. Everybody laughed. They said, this is you. 1975. That's a good 20-something years before I was born, guys. I think even my oldest sibling wasn't born in. Was she born in 1975? I don't think so. My parents weren't even together at this time. So I am just mind blown. I saw this picture and I had to tweet it saying, oh my God, I found my doppelganger. Because they say, there's a saying, right? That you have people that look like you in the world that are not related to you or anything, but they look like you. I think I found her. I really think I found her. Or him. I don't even know. Is that a man or a woman? I think it's a woman. It looks like a woman. It's definitely not me because it's an Arsenal fan. But it was at a North London derby game, 1975 at Highbury. And I'm just amazed. I even have a T-shirt like that. That I have a Palestine football shirt that is quite similar to that kind of shirt. That's why I actually, for a split second, I thought, is that me? Is that me? And now people are asking me if I'm a time traveler. I'm glad it's not just me that thinks about it. Shout out to my friend who sent it to me, because I would never have seen this otherwise. And I was just mind blown. I was absolutely just mind blown. But anyway, back to the predictions for tomorrow's game. I don't know, man. I don't know. I can't say United will win. I can't say United will draw. I can't say United will lose. I can just say I don't know. Because United haven't scored in 3 Premier League games, I think, in a row. Let me double check before I'm making up fake stats. But Man United have not scored. Let's see their past games. So, Crystal Palace, Tottenham. Yeah, we haven't actually scored in 3 games in a row. So I'm not making that up. Villa 0-0, Spurs 3-0, Palace 0-0. Manchester United, the last time they scored in the Premier League was against Southampton, exactly over a month ago, which says a lot. That says a lot. And for that reason, I can't predict results. I can't predict. And that's why I actually respect anyone that says to me, United will win 2-0 or United will win 3-1. How are you predicting that we're going to score 3 goals? How, for a team that's only scored 5 goals in the Premier League, have we scored the least number of goals in the league altogether? Oh my God. We've scored the 3rd least. Why am I just realizing this now? We have scored the 3rd least goals in the Premier League so far this season. Southampton have scored 4. Crystal Palace have scored 5. We've scored 5. Everton have scored 7. Ipswich have scored 6. So there's teams that have scored more than us that are below us. I don't know how Man United find themselves 14th. We should, based on that, we should be way lower. We should be way, way lower. And Mbeumo has more than us. Yeah, I mean, Cole Palmer scored 3 in a game. He scored 3. He scored more than half of Man United's tally in one game. I think there's like 3 or 4 players in the Premier League right now that have more goals than Manchester United do, including obviously Haaland. But that's ridiculous. That's great. And that's why when people say Man United are going to win 2-1 tomorrow, or they're going to win 3-0, or they're going to win 3-1, I'm like, how do you know? How do you suddenly believe that Man United are going to start scoring in the Premier League when they have not been for 3 games in a row? I really need to know. Whatever it is that you guys are on, maybe it's just the hope that keeps you going, because it can't be the realism. It can't be realism. It has to be the hope that keeps everybody going, that makes you believe that Man United will score. If I was to make a prediction, I'll say 1-1. I'll say it'll be a draw, but it'll be like McTominay won it for us last season. He's not here to save Erik ten Hag again. But I'll say 1-1. I think it's going to be a typical 3 p.m. kickoff for Manchester United. A very sluggish performance. Man United don't perform well after international break. Can I just say that? They tend to not perform well after international break under Erik ten Hag. And with this notion of a injury crisis or whatever it is that Erik ten Hag's experiencing right now, whatever happens, I think Onana is going to be what keeps United in the game. So if United draw or United win, I think it's going to be down to Onana. But equally, I could say that and be like, you know what, if United lose, it could be down to Onana too, because he's very much capable of making a mistake. He's very, very capable of doing that. United have created 89 chances, where 34 has hit the goal. We're 9th in chance creation. We should have had at least 5 more goals. What do you put that down to? Is that just being unlucky? Like when we look at the chances created, okay, on paper, Man United should be scoring goals, but they're not. So what is it? Is it the opponent's goalkeepers better than what United are creating? Is it Man United are half-assed with their chances, that they're not really putting 100% in it to kind of get the goal? What is it? Is it that they're underestimating the goalkeeper? Like, what exactly is it that because I know XG hype, right? I know stats hype, XG hype, all of that stuff. But what is it exactly that Manchester United are not doing correctly in front of goal? Because if they're finding the ball in the final third and they're creating the chances, for me, it's telling me that Manchester United are just not clinical. And with that, what does clinicalness come from? It comes from being a good forward. That's where it comes from. Being able to finish your chances. I'm sorry, but I feel like listen to this, guys. A football game is like life. Yeah, you don't get 5 chances in life to do something. You got 1 chance in life. Yeah, you got 1 life, so live it properly. You should treat that the same way as being in front of the goal. You should treat that chance that you get as the only chance you're going to get, and you need to put it in the back of the net. Because that for me is not good enough. I don't care about XG. Like, I think I'm one of the few people that don't care about the data side of games sometimes, because I'm very big on the eye test. Yes, data helps to make informed decisions, but data shouldn't sway your opinion. You should go off of the eye test. And yes, Man United in games, they are exceeding XG in comparison to what the scoreline might show. But if anything, that's just showing me that you're not good enough in front of goal. It doesn't mean that you deserve to win or you deserve to have more goals than what you actually have. If they let Mbeumo score, we're dead. Yeah. Mbeumo, I saw an article on The Athletic talking about basically Manchester United. One thing they need to do is basically stop Mbeumo or stop Brentford from kickoff. Because if Man United do concede a goal from kickoff, it's peak, guys. It's a big problem if United concede a goal straight from kickoff, or in the first couple minutes of the game, which Brentford are capable of doing. They are really, really capable. They're really capable of doing that. Quickly before we wrap it up, guys, give me your predictions for the game. Like I said, I'm going 1-1. I'm going 1-1. It's an easy cop out. It's still brave of me to even predict that Man United will score because, like I said, United haven't scored 3 games in a row in the Premier League. But I'm hoping somebody, I don't know who, but somebody will put the ball in the back of the net. Hell, I don't even if it's Ruud van Nistelrooy who has to come on and put the ball in the back of the net, someone has to put the ball in the back of the net. I'm going 1-1. Like I said, for Man United, this is actually a must-win game because if any result sways towards Brentford, teams above us will just keep going out of reach. And right now, that's the people that we're chasing down. Rob says 4-1 to Brentford. Show says, I think 1-1 as well. Jale says 0-0. I don't see a win on the horizon for United. Brian says 4-1, which Brian has actually been consistent with the prediction. Said it earlier in the stream as well. I don't see a win on the horizon for Man United right now. Erik ten Hag did say that Kobbie Mainoo will be out for 7 games? Or Manchester United have apparently said he'll be out for 7 games. Just looking at the 7 games coming up, we've got Brentford, then we have Fenerbahce away on Thursday. We've got West Ham away on Sunday. We've got Leicester in the Carabao Cup at home. Then we've got Chelsea at home. Then we got, is that Panathinaikos at home in Europa League. Then we got Leicester again in the Premier League at home. So Man United have a favourable run of games, if we're being honest. When I say favourable, though, I'm really going off of the fact that a lot of the games are at home. Man United have 7 games and only 2 of them are away at home. They've got a run of 4 games. They have a run of 4 games at home. They've got 2 games against Leicester, 1 in the Carabao and 1 in the Premier League. And they got Chelsea and a Europa League matchup. I think Chelsea will be the biggest test probably out of all of them because the form of which Chelsea are in under Enzo Maresca. I think Chelsea's team have gelled a lot more better than what Manchester United's team have gelled. But also they've been together for a season, like Cole Palmer, Nicholas Jackson, Enzo, Caicedo, etc. Most of them in Chelsea right now in the starting 11 have been together since last season. And to be honest, I can say the same for Manchester United. Majority of them have been together. But I just feel like Chelsea have gelled a lot better under Enzo Maresca. And I don't know what it is. Hey Minna, welcome back. How was your break? It was good. I had a great time in Malaysia and Thailand. I can't wait to go back to Malaysia. Whoever's from Malaysia, guys, you lot are so lucky to live there. Honestly, what a country. 1-0 to Brentford, which is what I'm assuming. Wolves have to play City and Bournemouth. Bournemouth have to play Arsenal. So Wolves and Bournemouth will lose, which helps us. Again, going back to what I said earlier in the stream, how the mighty have fallen because we're looking at Wolves and Bournemouth saying that if they lose, it helps us. So basically, I have to root for City and Arsenal and hope they win. Kadeem says you're losing, Minna. That's coming from an Everton fan, man. That says a lot. That really, really says a lot. In terms of, I was going to do a starting 11 prediction, but I'm not going to do that just because I don't know who's going to start. But I think the main culprits will play. I think Onana will be in goal. I think the backline will be Dalot, Mazraoui, De Ligt. I think Licha will play. That midfield partnership, it will be either Casemiro and Eriksen or Casemiro and Ugarte. I think it'll be one or the other. I feel like Erik ten Hag might sway more towards Casemiro and Eriksen because, like I said, Ugarte is not his guy. He don't want to play Ugarte, but equally so, he's put a lot of stocks in Christian Eriksen for some reason. I think it'll be Bruno in the 10. I think it'll be Garnacho on the right. I think Rashford on the left, and I think it'll be Rasmus Højlund up top. I don't think Xerxes will play, which again is like, what's the point of signing him? But I think that will be the starting 11. And I'm just interested to see what the excuses could possibly be. And that's it. I'm looking forward to see what excuses Manchester United could make. But be sure to hit the like button, guys, if you've just joined us for the daily dose of Minna. Tomorrow, what do we have on stream tomorrow? Well, we might have EAFC 25 later this evening on Friday night. I mean, what else is there to do? But tomorrow we got a watch along at 12:15 p.m. UK time for Manchester United women versus Brighton, who kick off at 12:30. And then as soon as that's over, obviously 3 p.m. Manchester United play. So at 5:30 maybe or 5:15 UK time, shortly after the game ends, we will have. What will we have? Minute state of mind. We'll have minute state of mind to kind of talk about the game, and then after that, we will also have 5 and 5 that drops as well. So we got an action-packed weekend of content. So listen, guys, please, it's the road to 10K. I'm trying to get to 10K by February. I got 3 months. I got 3 months to get to 10K. The goal is to get to 7K by the end of this month. So if you are new here, please do consider subscribing. Make sure you lot drop a like, because it helps with the algorithm all the time. And I'll be back later this evening as well. And if there's any news between obviously today and the game tomorrow, then I will be live. But make sure you lot hit the like button, and I hope you have a wonderful Friday afternoon, guys. I'm out. Peace.